Hey guys, welcome to the Go Solo Show, and we're back again for season 2 today. So, just a quick reminder for our regular viewers and listeners that you may have noticed quite a slight change in format for season 2, and that's because we're focusing less on these one-to-ones and individual stories and more about shared experiences. So, for our future episodes and today, we're bringing together a number of great guests around a similar industry talking about their collective experiences. So on this week's show, I'm delighted to say that we've got people in the Pilates, yoga, and wellness business space talking about how they started, run, and are currently growing their business. They've built thriving communities, they've got loads of regular customers, and a really amazing social media presence. So a very warm welcome, a very warm Go Solo welcome to our guest today, Zoe, who teaches Pilates in the UK. Zoe, great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We have Meg, who's yoga, meditation, wellness, life coaching, all sorts of great stuff. You're in the UK by the way of Canada, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. And we have Eli as well. This is a very international affair today, which I'm delighted to say as well. You know, we're very international here on the Go Solo Show. And we have Eli of Drunk Yoga in the US. So Eli, I'm not going to spoil the surprise for everybody about what drunk yoga is, but great to have you here as well.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Okay, so like I said, a great combination of guests today, and let's get straight into it. So I'm really interested for this first question, which is, all about the background, about getting to know you and your business. So in a nutshell, what is your business and what is it that sets it apart from everybody else, and what is it that you do that's different? Zoe, maybe you'd be a great person to start with this.
Oh, okay. So my business essentially is Pilates. The clue is in the name, Pilates with Zoe. So it's a business that I've been running now for 14 years. So I trained 14 years ago when my son was just turning 2. Before that time, I worked in advertising for 10 years. I retrained so that I could find a career that would work quite well around having a young family. And I started off teaching to the local community face-to-face classes. And over the years, my business has grown. And it is now an online business as well. That's happened more recently in the last couple of years. And I teach a combination of about 18 classes a week. So it keeps me pretty busy, and I film a couple of classes a week as well for my on-demand members too. So it keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, at 14 years as well of doing it, it seems like it's going well, which is good. So You've managed to get through that first startup difficult stage, which is brilliant. Well, thanks for that, Zoe. Exactly. And how about yourself, Meg? Because I know obviously you're in a more of a hybrid state right now, but it seems like you offer like a full package to wellness. Tell us more about your business.
I suppose like I'm kind of in a growth stage. I come obviously from a background of teaching, and I used to teach English in a school, and I just could really sense, like, for teachers, myself, for students, that we needed a bit more teaching and learning about kind of how to take care of ourselves. So I had an opportunity through school to do my master's in positive psychology, mental health and well-being. And I found myself training in everything from EFT to doing my 200-hour yoga, training in meditation, and eventually did my life coach training. And that kind of lent itself to this little business that I've started, just Wellness with Meg, I call it. And from that, I've been really blessed to not only work in schools where I deliver sort of talks or workshops with kids, a combination of all of those things. Sometimes I do it in a business context. So I've worked for some, big football names or retreats abroad. But it's a really nice thing to be able to bring together different facets of wellness, and hopefully allow people to have kind of a toolbox of things that they might be able to kind of take with them. So I guess in a nutshell, it's kind of a wellness consultancy business.
Amazing. And that sounds good for me and my kids as well, because I always bring my kids into this. It's my son's 6th birthday today, so I need to give a quick shout out to him as well. But it's that sounds amazing. I think we need to kind of like do more of this as well with the kids and get them started early as well. Brilliant. Eli, just for everybody out there, and everybody will get a chance to look at your Instagrams later when we're talking more about our business and pointing them to where they can find you online. But I'm really interested to know about drunk yoga. Is it what it says in the name? Tell us more about that and how you got into it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a funny story. I'd like to preface the story with my background is in acting. And so I went to New York University's Tisch School of the Arts for acting. And I was doing that full time in New York City in a very conventional way. Though when I say conventional, I mean TV, film, commercials, you name it. But I had a real affinity for community-based theater. So throughout college, I loved experimental theater, interactive performance art, and community-based theater, where theater goers generally immerse themselves in already existing communities, and they learn everything they can about them and use the art of storytelling and interactive play really to help the community itself find catharsis right in conflict, see each other's perspectives better, and sort of elevate to a higher state of understanding, empathy really. At 22, I didn't quite know how to grapple with that interest. So of course I was just waitressing and auditioning for Law and Order. And then I became a yoga teacher, as most actresses did, in 2014. And I loved everything about yoga as well, for similar reasons to why I loved everything about acting. I loved being in front of a group. I loved making them feel good. I loved cultivating joy. I loved making them happy. And I was a competitive gymnast for 10 years. So I love everything about self-empowered movement. And mindfulness. So I dove headfirst into that, and I was teaching in New York and California and India and Thailand, and trained all over the world, got every certificate that you could. I was pretty intense about it. But as I was teaching yoga full time then, I became increasingly dissatisfied with, I guess, the cultural norm around the way that traditional yoga was continued to be executed, very militaristic and exclusive and patriarchal, if I may be so bold to say. I had a very patriarchal experience in my first yoga training. The teacher was literally in the military for a very long time, and it just feels like he found yoga as a way to continue to tell people what to do. And I noticed, like, even all the mats like in a row, and no one's allowed to talk to each other, and no one's allowed to look at each other, and no one quite knows why. It's just the rules and we follow it. And you're just supposed to do what you're told with your body and not ask any questions. And especially in New York City, at a high-strung environment, it felt like my job as a yoga teacher was teach people how to engage their core. And I just wanted to teach people how to be happy and get along better. And as much as I tried to start to integrate interactive theater and storytelling techniques to help people sort of break that fourth wall and connect with one another better and realize, we're all in this together. It sounds super hippy-dippy because it is. They wouldn't have it in a conventional setting. Like, you go to a gym, you work out, you leave. And so as much as I tried to spice things up in yoga studios and gyms, it just wasn't working. Then, and here's the story you've all been waiting for, I walked into a bar. Some most great ideas begin. And it was a bar I used to work at on one late serendipitous evening, out with some friends, not entirely sober in that moment, admittedly. And the owner of the bar said, "Oh my gosh, Eli, you're a yoga teacher. You should teach me yoga. I can't even touch my toes." And then the guy, sure enough, bent over, touched his toes, and he said, "Oh, I guess I can do it when I'm drunk." And I sort of flirtatiously said, "Oh, let's do drunk yoga." And the light bulb moment happened pretty instantaneously. I thought, wait a second, adding the social ritual of a happy hour is such a great way to make yoga more fun, accessible, break down that fourth wall, get beginners to try it, get people to be less stuffy about it. And then we can do it in a less conventional setting where people are already more primed to be kind and social and laugh and dance like a bar. So because I chose the name when I wasn't sober, drunk yoga, everyone thought it was a joke. So nobody came to my class for a couple of months. And then I was ready to give up. I thought, maybe this is just a terrible idea. Maybe nobody wants to drink wine while they do yoga. I was wrong, thankfully. I called the press. I had a journalist friend and I said, "I've got this idea. It's called drunk yoga. It's like this interactive yoga drinking game to make it more fun." And she wrote about it, and then it just went internationally viral within a week. I mean, Gothamist was the first. It got picked up by Refinery 29, International Business Times, New York Post, Elle, Glamour, Pop Sugar, Shape, Daily Mail. I got a book deal like a month later. We were sold out for 6 months, and I had to quickly really quickly figure out how to start this business. I had investors calling me from all over the world. And now, so it started as in a bar, and then now it's mostly a corporate team building experience. We do virtual and in person, and now we kind of found our niche, bachelorette parties and corporate team building, where we curate a really cute yoga drinking game for that particular team to build camaraderie and make yoga a little bit more fun and bring some levity to wellness. So yeah.
I'm already slightly worried for you. I think we may have drunk Pilates and drunk wellness and meditation coming after this also.
Genius idea.
Yeah, get those in. They may struggle on your machines, I think, Zoe, obviously from seeing them on the Instagram as well. My kind of question on that is like, how much wine do they have? I think that's probably the question we're all wondering here. Like, are people literally doing a full-on wine tasting? Are they having a glass? Are they literally, because of the joyous nature of people coming to your classes, I guess some people don't even drink as well. It's just more about the experience.
Yeah, that's a very valid question. So I like to say that drunk is suggestive, not descriptive. We intoxicate the convention of yoga, not the yogi. No more than 2 glasses of wine or drinks are allowed per class. Most people don't even do that. One of our most popular offerings is actually coffee yoga. So we also do sober yoga, as we cheekily call it. It's a very cheeky brand. Sober yoga, coffee yoga, connect and stretch. We have a shake your asana. We have a drunk broga. So drunk is really not indicative of the style of the class. It's really just to intoxicate the convention. 1 glass of wine is allowed at the beginning of class. So the execution, to give you guys a clearer picture, the class starts with a mandatory happy hour. I do that on purpose because I think it's really important that our teacher who plays the host, we have about 15 teachers across the country. I train them myself. They are taught by me to learn how to break the 4th wall and become the host of the yoga party rather than just the militaristic yoga teacher, and really welcome everyone in. So we're very deliberate about where we place the wine or the juice or the water, like just something that makes them feel nourished and like there's already a prop that brings people together. So we're already all sort of drinking at the same time, a beverage in hand, the same way that you feel more comfortable when you like have a beverage in hand at a party. Like as soon as someone hands you something, you're like, oh no, I've arrived. Cheeky music, Britney Spears, Spice Girls, throwback songs. Wow. And people are, the yoga teacher will introduce herself. She'll talk about the rules. If you lose your balance, you have to take a sip. If you mix up your left and your right foot, you have to say something you're grateful for. If you're the last person to put your cup on your head, you have to make up a deal.
I'm applying for a franchise for Manchester, UK already. I'm thinking, let's actually get this going. But I like what you're saying. It's about repackaging an experience and actually taking that, and obviously if there is a market for it, there is a market for it, which obviously there massively is. I remember when I used to visit San Francisco a lot for work, going to those first Soul Cycle classes and stuff like that. It felt much more than just going to a spin class or something. It was, when you'd get on a bike, you felt like, okay, I know I'm going to go out later on, but this feels more of an event. It feels more of an experience, for good or for bad. So, I'm really excited about that. And obviously, thanks for so much detail as well. I'm quite excited about that as well, actually. Next time in New York, I definitely kind of need to get there as well. Now, I think you guys have given me a really good idea about why you got into what you did. I think you've all got really interesting backgrounds about why you started doing this for yourselves. But the next kind of follow question I've got is kind of like, why do you love what you do? Like, what is that deeper motivation that literally makes you get up and keep doing it? I mean, Zoe, you said you've been doing this for 14 years. It can't just be something now that fits in. I presume, obviously, your kids have started to grow up and, you could, I'm sure you wouldn't want to, but go back to the corporate advertising world or whatever you want to do. Obviously for yourself, Meg, I'm interested in your motivations about whether you're going to constantly do this as like a part-time thing or whether the goal will be to fully go out on your own, and obviously for Eli as well. So maybe Zoe, again, it would be great just I'd really like to just get a feel for like what's that burning feeling and love about why you do what you do. Like what's the kind of warm feeling you get from it?
I think the biggest thing has got to be the benefit that you see in your clients, which sounds like an obvious thing, but it's not just physically how they benefit from taking up Pilates practice. There's a light bulb moment that goes on for quite a few clients when they start Pilates. A lot of people come to Pilates when they have done very little exercise throughout their life. and whether they're coming to Pilates because they have dysfunction in their body already, or whether this is their first tentative steps towards a form of exercise. You often see that light bulb moment where they take 1 or 2 classes and they go, finally, I've found a form of exercise that I feel fantastic at the end of the class, and that only motivates them to want to do it more, to want to come regularly, to want to do it more than once, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times a week. And it's a joyous moment when you see that reaction in a client. And I feed off that. I mean, every time it happens, even 14 years later.
But you feel, do you feel you're on the journey with them? You know, do you feel that you're, you know, without getting too, you know, we're all in this. I've been doing yoga for myself for many years. You know, do you feel almost like you're on a spiritual journey with them, or a wellness journey, or whatever, taking them there?
And you build these wonderful relationships with your clients. I mean, I teach pretty much mainly to my community, you know, to within the community, within where I live. So I'm seeing these people every day as well, just out and about. And for most of my clients, I feel that we have built like really solid, proper relationships. Some who have been coming to me for 14 years. But even the ones that only come for a year, and then for whatever reason they can't come anymore, I always get a sense that I've given them something. Even when, you know, they might go, I always encourage my clients, if they move away, to try and find Pilates somewhere else. And you know, it certainly isn't something that I go, it's just me, you must only be with me.
I'm amazed as well, like what a great workout Pilates is. I mean, I started doing it about 6 months ago, and like, yes, you know, I won't lie to you, you know, my core is dreadful. Like I'm just putting it out there, but I was away camping the next day after my first class, and I was out with my kids in the woods, and I could hardly get out of bed. I really felt it throughout my entire body down here.
That means like, you were doing it properly, Jonny.
Oh, well, thank you. Good. This is it. You know, usually I do things quite half-assed, but it's I'm quite pleased to hear that. But you're right. I mean, it felt like that full body. You didn't feel like it was enjoyable to do, but it was like that. And for yourself, Meg, I mean, like, do you feel that you're taking people on a journey? I mean, you were saying before, you have a real balance between kids and adult stuff, but you feel real satisfaction from what you do?
Yeah, I suppose I think it really does blend in a little bit with what Zoe said, and also Eli in her first bit. I think that there's a little bit of a magic that you can help people see in themselves, right? Instead of being prescriptive, I just feel like being able to show people that they have all the tools inside of them in order to tackle the tough stuff in life, whether it's breath, whether it's a stretch, whether it's a tapping technique. I'm a real big believer that if we can show people that they have it already within them, then we can build resilience, we can build confidence, we can make a difference potentially to people's mental health and their future and what they aspire to do. And that doesn't matter, you know, what age they're at. You know, I just think it's amazing to be part of somebody's journey, even if it's just a small conversation once, or one yoga class. Maybe it's, you know, a deep breath that you did in a corporate kind of experience, and they were able to take that with them forever. And I suppose somebody did that for me. You know, I remember being in pigeon pose in a yoga class, in a yin, yin class once, and I just started to cry. And I really noticed that, like, I was in this rat race and I was pushing, and I never really stopped to think about what I wanted, what I needed to be a little more happy, you know, what self-care actually meant. And in this day and age, you know, especially the year that we've all had in COVID, it's a gift that I was given, and I just feel really honored and grateful in whatever capacity to pass that on. Whether it's children, I wish I learned it sooner. So I think that's where I haven't been able to pull away from schools yet. But I'm trying to, you know, the goal is potentially to do more presentation work in schools versus teach. I still teach some lessons 2 days a week. And eventually, I'm sure you can see my business has lots of little bubbles around it, and fingers crossed we can hone in on something a little bit more specific over time. But
I think that you're doing a great job of the corporate one if you are told not to kind of keep going in, because they keep having loads of people resigning straight away after you've put them through. If they're crying, they're going like, oh no, I need to get out of this corporate job. I feel so good for 5 minutes of breathing or whatever's obviously needed as well. Obviously, Eli, I think from your situation, in terms of everything you're doing, it seems like you're building a really thriving community as well. I'm sure obviously community is such an important part. Not only you're making individual improvements in people's lives, but also it's the community element of it. Would you say that's probably one of the main drivers behind you doing it, or are you just so excited because you're in such a growth stage as well?
I'm really interested in belonging.
Okay.
I really think I put a lot of thought into this, because drunk yoga is really that intersection between, I say this all the time, between hashtag self-care and hashtag community care, because this practice that I've developed is not an introspective one, it's a communal one.
Yeah.
And it is, I really did pioneer that genre of wellness entertainment. And so to grapple with what need am I filling and how am I serving, was hard to put my finger on. And so I just needed the 4 years that I've been in business to sort of figure that out. And it seems like I've really honed in on my skills and my interests sort of intersect at helping already existing communities foster camaraderie. So how can I use drunk yoga, whether it's literal, like a glass of wine in a yoga class, or that company loved their experience with us so much that then they hired me as a community engagement consultant to sort of deepen the work and use the power of play to foster belonging with your coworkers or your social impact organization, or people in the town that you live in that are having a hard time kind of coming to terms with a big change that's coming. So really using mindfulness and storytelling to fill in the gap between where you become us, if that makes sense.
It really does. And I hate to bring up this word. I'm hoping we'll come out the other end of it, or we are coming out the other end of it. But to put the P word, pandemic, out there right now, I hate to use the word opportunities because obviously it's been a fairly horrific thing that the whole world has been through this last year and a half. But, how has your business, all three of you, kind of coped with the pandemic? Has there been opportunities that have come out of it? Has your business done well out of it? Has it survived? Has it made you create new features, products, or whatever? I'm just really interested to know kind of like how the business has gone. Maybe again, Zoe would be a good person to start with this.
So of course it was quite a terrifying time overall for the fitness industry, I think. Well, overall for the world. But specifically for those people that relied on that face-to-face interaction to work. I was very lucky in that I very, very quickly jumped on the Zoom bandwagon. Fortunate that my husband has been using Zoom for conference calls for a very long time. So I said, quickly set me up almost immediately. And it helped, I think, that I was one of the first instructors locally to get onto Zoom, because I sort of got my clients on board with it very quickly. I would say 95% of my face-to-face clients on mat work went onto Zoom. I had another whole part of my business, which is on the reformers. So the other part of my business is teaching group reformer Pilates, and there was no way I could put that on Zoom. Because not many people have the reformers in their homes.
Be a big delivery problem for you trying to get those to people's houses.
That was an issue. So half of my business had to stop. So I did have time on my hands to try and find, because nobody knew when we were going to come out of it. We all hoped it would be quick, didn't we? I don't think anyone really dreamed that we'd still be, in the situation that we're in now. But so during that period, I suppose the opportunity was in the fact that I had more time on my hands, and I could start to develop an online presence, which I'd been wanting to do for quite some time, but I'd always used the excuse I just didn't have the time to do it. And that's when I started to build an on-demand library of classes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
great.
when this other part of my business started to form. And I made a promise to myself and then to my members as my membership started growing that I would deliver 2 classes a week, one mat based and one reformer based.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. I would say probably about 3 months into the pandemic, so into the lockdown in this country, I started building that on-demand offering.
Yeah.
I had a website built, and it just kind of it progressed from there. So that's where the opportunity came. So now I've effectively got my business is almost twice the size
Yeah.
that it was before the pandemic, because all the face-to-face classes have started back again, and I have the on-demand offering as
And
well.
is that
So it's great.
that here to stay now? I mean, do you see them as separate entities? You'll run them separately. You don't see a hybrid model. You know, I talk with all sorts of people on this show, and obviously different entrepreneurs each week.
Yeah. No, they kind of feed into each other to a certain extent, because what I say that sets me apart to a certain extent from the way other instructors have gone on demand is that every class I put on demand has first been taught to my clients face to face. So I film at the end of each week, so I know that every on demand class is achievable for most people, because I've taught it and I've seen bodies move in the way that I've worked out all my verbal cues and all the things that I need to deliver that class well online. And so the 2 businesses, I don't think I could ever put them separate them, because they are one is face to face, and then I take that experience and I put it on demand.
So it seems like, that, I hate to again use the word opportunity, but it's kind of, again, kicked you up the arse to say, let's get this going. I have got the time because this time's been created. In terms of your situation, Eli, I'll change things up here a bit. Were you sending a bottle of wine to people in the post and say, let's do yoga? Or I'm just interested in how your business model evolved in terms of that. You may have done online before, you may not have done. I'm just interested to know what the pandemic experience was for yourself.
Yeah, it was tough. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard to figure out, because the magic of drunk yoga is in the interaction and cheersing and high-fiving and fist bumping in the middle of poses. That was spent a lot of time figuring out how can I do that via Zoom. So that was a great challenge, because it really forced me to nail down the essence of connection in a really esoteric way. What makes us feel like we're connected, and it really helped me marry mindfulness with storytelling in a more cohesive way, because yes, high fives are great, and the partner exercises that we do in class, like one of the things that we do is do a chair pose in front of each other and separate your legs, and then you bring the glass underneath your partner's legs while you talk about the worst date you ever had. So stuff like that you can't do on Zoom. But what we can do is tell cheeky stories and use icebreaker questions and dance and do weird things with the cup, and bring in the real world, like introduce your pet on the screen. In terms of the business model, that changed the most. And I think it was really traumatic at the beginning, but it was a blessing at the end, because we were growing really fast in the hotel space and travel and entertainment. Actually, Virgin Hotels in Dallas, like Richard Branson's Virgin, had just purchased exclusivity of drunk yoga in February of 2020. So I thought, all right, I made it. I made it as an entrepreneur. We're growing with Virgin. They were opening other hotels, and then I'm going to sell the business. And I made it. And then all hotels lost their budget forever. And we lost all of our hotel, but I think I lost $50,000 in a day. It was, a lot of wine companies sent me wine. Let's just say I drank it.
Just I just see, for people listening on the audio, there is not a load of boxes all around, like wine cases around Eli right now, but but there could be.
Wine companies did. It's like they woke up one day and they're like, what we should do is send all of our wine to the founder of drunk yoga. And I did not say no. But that was March of 2020. It really did force me then to nail down the essence of connection in a yoga class. And I always just wanted to focus on corporate team building. It really feels the most like that community-based theater that I fell in love with at age 18. And so now it's really just like a really cool corporate wellness solution, and we can do it on Zoom for hybrid companies, and we can do it in person. And because I had so much time to really think and research the essence of community engagement, the intersection of mindfulness and storytelling to foster belonging. I've got my keynote, working on the TED Talk, and now I'm getting hired by companies to speak on that subject to help other leaders make their engaging, their gatherings more engaging, and help other leaders facilitate more interactive experiences for their employees. So
it's been an incredible time, though. I think like, just to use what both of you both said, it's given us that almost like laser focus again to think about it, and also maybe again got us slightly out of maybe not a bad rut, but out of almost like everything being so linear and steady. It's like, right, what would happen? How do I rethink my business? What's consumer behavior going to be like after the pandemic? When's this going to end? How do I still keep the lights on? All these sorts of things. So I think it's, I'm not saying it was a good thing to go through, but it's definitely been an interesting time for everybody to just have that time where you kind of go into panic mode and be almost like, right, let's replan where we're at, get the paper and pen out, and let's try and get out of this, but see where we're going to be, like you said, to start off this. So we all thought it might be a few months. It's like, I remember people booking their summer holidays thinking, oh, we'll be fine. It's not that case, so now I've deliberately kept you to last on this, Meg, because your pandemic is slightly different, because you had a baby, I believe, like during the pandemic, or you have a young kid as well like that. And also you're saying your business is in the growth stage right now. So obviously through the pandemic, it's, obviously grown that. How was your pandemic as well in terms of taking that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that I was already slowing down a little bit in terms of pushing the business and where it was growing, just because I was expecting my daughter. But I really found, like, after I'd had her in the August and I felt ready to deliver again and put myself out there again, it was a real blessing because I could then work from home. So I will say, like, I think like a lot of moms, I had a little bit of confidence. I was a little bit wobbly about how does this look? How do I present something online? Can I do this way again? Who's going to come? And I guess I approached it in a bit of a slow manner, and I offered one yoga class for free for the whole of January to anybody that wanted to come. And I remember that very first day of people logging in, and I was absolutely godsmacked that I had hundreds of people log in. And what I hadn't realized was that all of the communities that we had reached face to face, so whether it was a corporate, gig that I would have had in the past, whether it was, a local community class or somebody in Canada that I hadn't seen in years, they had all seen this online and thought, do you know what, I want to be part of that. And it took me by surprise to see people wanting that sense of community, even though we were all stuck at home. They wanted to be a part of something. And I guess for me personally, I've just added a few more Zoom classes. I've added, a live class. I started to change the business to a bit more subscription-based process. And I also did a lot of Zoom corporate work where we did some team building work, lots of motivational speaking. And I guess over time, I'm starting to now, just after coming out of maternity just for a few months now, I'm starting to reframe what that looks like, how I could use more of an online platform for this to grow, how I could create a bank of resources or something a little bit different for a corporate climate or schools. But I guess it's just opened up a lot of ideas for me, but I will be honest, still baby stages with where this could go. But what has kind of opened up for me was a bit overwhelming in terms of what people wanted from a virtual world, what that could look like.
I guess it cuts both ways, because we have one of my friends, she teaches Indian cookery classes. She again used to do them in real life, moved fully online, but in a good way. She was getting people from the US, people from Iceland, people from Eastern Europe attending her virtual classes. And she was like, this could never have happened being based in Manchester and Birmingham here in the UK. But then obviously as things are opening up now and she's doing the real life stuff, the backlog, it's proving again quite overwhelming. And the amount of opportunity you can do online, it's kind of knowing which battles to fight, really, like which avenues to go down. And also, I guess, making sure you don't go down a rabbit hole, making sure you stay true, as Eli and Zoe said, to their core business, their communities they've grown, the clients they have, maybe creating this side thing, but also still being able to refocus on coming out of that. Final question I've got before we go on to some of your growth tips on your business. And this is probably a good question to ask all of you. And I'm not going to pick anybody out. Feel free to throw in your answers here as well. But, we talk to entrepreneurs all across the world each week on this show, and all different industries, but you're all in, say, the health, fitness, wellness kind of space. What's your own approach like to work-life balance and keeping it all together? Like, you might say, well, I do 3 Pilates classes a day, Jonny, or I, meditate 2 hours a day, or I teach yoga, whatever. But what's your own kind of relationship like with work-life balance and wellness? I'm just interested to know.
I'll hop in first, I suppose, because what I really struggle with now is because a lot of my business is online. It's actually finding that balance. Actually, I'm sure Meg and Eli will agree. It's turning off and saying no more to the online, and let's look at the people that I have in front of me, specifically my family. So it's harder actually with the online world being so accessible all the time. And that's not because I'm spending hours scrolling through YouTube videos and answering comments or whatever on posts that I've done. It's being able to just turn things off and go, I need some balance in terms of interaction with real people, despite the fact that I'm still teaching 18 classes a week. I have 2 teenage boys, a husband, a dog, and all the rest of it. But I still get consumed by the online world because it doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. It's relentless.
You're right.
So I don't think that's an actual answer. It's actually a recognition that it's just really hard.
This is where you're just like, have you got any tips, Jonny? It's like, you're like, I'm looking forward to hearing Eli and
tell
Meg.
me, please.
Yeah, but it's true. I someone said this the other day. They went, well, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram were down, obviously. I saw some posts like, you could do this to yourself every day. And you're like, well, you could do, but are you going to do this? The reality is probably not. The first thing I'm thinking as I'm having my coffee, it's like I should probably have a look on Instagram and see what I've missed overnight. We're just in this world, so I get what you're saying. Meg, how do you cope with work-life balance? I guess again, we're having a small baby. It's not exactly kind of easy in terms of keeping it all together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we all quite have it right. I do believe, though, that just recognizing, I guess, and being open when I feel like I've been on my phone too much, or I'm editing things, or it's just pulling back, kind of like Zoe said, just trying to have a little bit of self-restraint in some ways. I do make sure that I put my phone away sometimes, because I notice that I might be, I've got a message ping through and I have to reply to a client, and actually I'm looking at my daughter and I think, you know what, I'm going to take that time and play with her. And I think having a 1-year-old is my personal escape, and trying to be present and trying to practice what I preach. But also I know that that's difficult because, like you said, it just feels like when somebody messages you, there's this professionalism you want to maintain and you want to get back to them as soon as possible. Or, but I have learned to take a deep breath. And I have learned that I can reply later. And I started to set out times that are my social media times.
That's good.
And create that in a little bit of a plan of my day, so that I can put it aside as well. And because social media doesn't always feel like work. But the struggle is real, though, and it's kind of having those excuses. When I asked this question as well, because I was chatting with another yoga and Pilates teacher recently, and she was saying, well, I'm still working on it myself. I was teaching 46 classes a week at some point and was realizing, like, this is far out of kilter. Do you know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy. How about yourself, Eli? Are you on Instagram right now? Like, do you have a second screen set up or whatever? What's your balance like with work life?
I'm really embracing learning all of that. I think I had a really unique situation because I was living in Manhattan, and I don't know if y'all been to New York, but I was living there. I spent my whole adulthood there. I became an adult. I moved there when I was 18 for school, and then I lived there for 12 years, and there's no off button to New York. I was teaching constantly, hustling constantly. And when I wasn't, I was going out with friends. So
Yeah.
I never had a good relationship with work-life balance. And I was so ambitious as an entrepreneur, always. And I just turned 32 a couple of days ago. And
Congratulations.
thank you, I made it. But whatever that means. But in the pandemic, coincidentally, before the pandemic, about 12 hours before the lockdown began, I moved upstate to Beacon. Props to my intuition, guys. Speaking of wellness, I was already feeling in like January of 2020, like, well, I can't do this anymore. Like, I felt like the business wasn't going to grow if I didn't learn how to get some rest. And so there's a small, cool, like artistic town, like an hour upstate from New York. You don't need a car. It's like a train ride away. So I secured a home here in Beacon mid-March of 2020. I was already going to move. And so I moved, and then the lockdown started the next day. And so my whole world changed. I lost all my money and sources of revenue in about a day because of the hotel. And I lived in a small town now out of Manhattan I knew nobody here. And businesses, I knew it was never like, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I'm still working on it. In short, like everything kind of just blank slate. And now I'm working with a life coach, like trying to figure out what time should I go to bed? Like, it sounds really juvenile, but like, what time do I want to work out in the morning? Like, imagine if every single element of structure of your life just disappeared. Like, what do I want to do for money? And do I want to go for a walk every day? So I'm still in a very experimental place of like learning what that structure is like, which is cool because I get to create it from scratch. It's stressful because I have to create it from scratch. So
yeah,
I'll let you know.
It really is. It's hard. The thing is, we're all aware that it needs to get better. It's just, again, it's that whole thing of like what you do today is who you are, sort of thing. But it's, we all kind of need that time. I'm a big fan at the moment of being able to kind of like hopefully lose my phone within the house. Then there'll be a mad panic after 10 minutes when I can't find it. And then I'm just like, but actually having that time away actually feels great. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, I'll put it deliberately somewhere that I probably can't remember. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's a good thing. Right. A quick change now in kind of vibe in terms of where we're going for. We're going to kind of pick up the pace a little bit in terms of some of your growth tips. So, I'm going to jump straight in because we're talking about social media. Now, you guys have all got very vibrant social media followings. Instagram, we always talk about it's probably being one of the very best marketing channels out there. Photos, video, reel, everything is so important. Obviously, getting yours across. Zoe, I'm just going to call you out that, like in terms of, I started following you recently, and when I see your videos coming on, I think Daft Punk this morning or something was soundtracked and the whole thing in time. I was like, you could make a music video for like MTV back in the day or something for these tunes. So, but I'm just interested from all of you guys, like, what your top tips are in terms of how you've grown your Instagram. I know consistency is probably up there as being something which is important, but, like, have there been things you've done which just really have made your Instagram following grow, and then you feel like you've got customers from that? I'm just interested to know how you've built your Instagram followings and what is it that works for you best, do you think?
I guess I think for me it started properly growing when I started bizarrely, which my children would say, really, if they heard me say this, but when I actually started recording or filming myself instructing rather than just not speaking. So whether that was because I had some feedback from some people that they liked the English accent, there was some feedback that the way that I instruct is very real. It's very down to earth. It's not a kind of a performance. It's I show everything. If I don't get a cue right, or if I'm if something amusing happens, it's there. The way that I am as a person, I think, came across in terms of how I presented myself on Instagram. So I didn't try and be anybody that, you know, anyone else other than me. And I think that kind of resonated at the time when I sort of started doing more on Instagram. You know, I approach my teaching in the same way that I approach friendships and relationships with people. It's always, you know, it's just fun. It's fun. It's joyful. It's often done with a nudge, nudge, wink, wink, kind of typical, you know, British humour a lot of the time, which some get, some don't, but that doesn't matter.
We're going to be putting that down. That's going to be on our blog, the nudge, nudge,
that,
wink, wink technique or something like that. You know,
nudge,
I think
nudge,
that will
wink,
work.
wink, fnarf, fnarf, you know.
Yeah.
Double entendres all over the place.
There will be.
And then I did a bit of filming for a few people in the business in the Pilates industry that had huge followings, and were on, you know, had already built on their sort of online platforms. And they, of course, then they tagged me, and that really makes a huge difference. Just, you know, blatantly piggybacking on somebody else's fame.
Well, that's what works, though. The partnerships work. I mean, you know, that comes up quite often, and you know, like, you know, you're preaching to the converted here, and I think anybody should obviously embrace those as well. Eli, yourself, you know, obviously yours is very vibrant as well. You obviously do a lot of group stuff and community. I think it really sells your brand, and obviously you have quite a vibrant personal one as well. But you know, anything else beyond what Zoe's saying as well, which works for you?
I think Zoe's a lot better at Instagram than I am. I was really consistent in my 20s when I was just teaching yoga, and I knew that yoga was not forever, but it was going to take me to the next step. And so I just really hit Instagram hard with yoga videos, and I'm glad that I did, because that really grew the following years ago. And it gave me a platform of integrity, so that when Drunk Yoga did go viral, if I didn't already have a great following of students who loved my teaching of sober yoga, I think that it could have gone awry really quickly, because I bet you can imagine we had a hard time with social media in the yoga industry when people heard the name Drunk Yoga. We got a lot of hate mail, I'll just say that. And if I had been brought any less integrity to my work and how I put myself out there and treated my students on Instagram when Drunk Yoga went viral, I think it could have been a disaster. But because of that, it really sparked a conversation as a result of beyond that. I've really been lazy, to be honest, about Instagram ever since, just not really sure what to post. When it's not just yoga I'm selling, and it's not just speaking I'm selling, and it's not just performance, I've still kind of figuring out how can I share what I do in the best way. In terms of best growth strategy, I'm going to piggyback on what Zoe said. Press, we got a lot of press, and that sort of grew us into the 10,000 range quickly. So it wasn't because I was good at Instagram, it was because
I guess that kind of maybe not the word isn't reaffirmation, but that kind of confirmation that you're trusted, you know, verification, I guess, in terms of what you do is so important. Yours is very personal, Meg. I think in terms of yours, you show the real you. I just want to say before I forget, I think I also want to get a neon sign as well, like Zoe's, that she has the brand behind. I think that really works in keeping the consistency through. I don't know what I'll get done. Something by Jonny or something. I'll be on neon, maybe in the back here. Podcast by Jonny or something. But Meg, yourself, you know, like anything that you use that you think's really made an impact for you on your Insta, is being real something that's helped you kind of grow?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm naturally like quite shy about using social media. And so when I have put myself out there, I definitely was surprised by people commenting or people engaging with what I've had to say. And the feedback was that actually we would like to see more of you versus, you know, a picture of a sunset and a post underneath that. Although that's nice, I think people have said, you know, we really like to see you move. We like to see you speak. And I've started using stories and things in order to just be able to talk a little bit. And I guess I'm gaining my confidence in that area. But similar to what Zoe said, I think, I still have a road to go with building that community, but I do a lot of collaborative work. I love to work with other people. I love to learn from their companies. I love to be a part of it. And I like, just to be part of that community of, I guess, light bearers, people trying to bring that goodness to other people. So I noticed by sharing other people's work and people sharing mine, whether it's small or bigger businesses, I have noticed, just by lifting each other, it's kind of lifted me as well. And I come from a place of gratitude from there. And also, starting out, just most of my following are a local community, a little bit broader, but my local community, I definitely use things like boosting posts. And that's where like really interesting people that just saw the post boosted. I don't know whether that's something people have found helpful, but it actually did make a difference to my business. I've just had loads of interesting people out of the woodwork and, coming into workshops, whether they're virtual or live. And that had made a small difference to me, actually, especially in the early days of building. Something that I should probably go back to maybe as I kind of rebrand over time.
Oh no, I mean, do you know what, I as part of my job here, I spend a hell of a lot of time going through people's Instagrams, and you can tell when some are a bit, I don't say use the word lazy, but some just haven't got any dynamism. Probably my own personal one is probably a good example of that. But like when people really put the effort in, you can really see it's got something different. It makes you want to follow it. It's got that kind of energy to it. You go, okay, if you're giving up your headspace to actually kind of scroll through and look at stuff, you obviously want to be entertained, or you want to feel something, you want to feel some kind of connection. And I think all you three are killing it as well. And that's really, really good to see as well. Right, we're going to zoom through now into our rapid fire round. Make it as rapid as you want. Feel free to give us a little bit of information if you want. But I'm just interested to get some tips and stuff here from you guys. So what would you say are some of your favorite entrepreneurs and resources that maybe you would maybe point people towards in your industry, or maybe people completely out of your industry if they're thinking about starting or growing a business? Any top entrepreneurs or books, obviously, or something, resources that you really, really rely on that you want to highlight today?
I think it's specific to Pilates and the type of Pilates that I teach. I would say Dynamic Pilates TV is absolutely incredible. The two women that run that business, Tiffany Burke, who her Instagram account is Poison Strength Pilates. I think it's Poison Strength Pilates, and Corinne Nolan. So those the Corinne is from the UK and Tiffany is from the States, and they are like this power couple that have come together and they've built this on demand, basically. I mean, some people might say, why are you putting them out there? They're probably your competition. They are up here. I mean, they're incredible. Yeah. I am no competition to them, believe me. But they're incredible in what they do, the way they teach, their energy, and they work and work and work. So I would say for me, they have been my biggest influence, I think.
I love that as well, just being able to, like you said, it's competition, but if you think of where your positioning is, maybe you're more cottage, local, whatever, if someone's doing a great job, shout them out. I think people need to feel that kind of love as well. How about yourself, Eli? Any kind of entrepreneurs or any resources that you want to shout out today for anybody else?
I mean, in the spirit of letting this be a tip for other entrepreneurs, I just say join as many entrepreneur groups as you possibly can. Some are great, some aren't, but you're always going to meet other people who are going through similar experiences as you, and you can ask them for advice in a really vulnerable way and not feel judged. So, I mean, I had to kind of pick this up on the streets. When International Business Times called me and asked me for a quote about drunk yoga, and they said, aren't you the CEO of drunk yoga? You guys, I literally was like on the phone like this, and I was Googling, what does CEO stand for? No idea. Yes, it was. But ask as many questions as you can to other entrepreneurs. They're so nice. It's such a nice community of people who are problem solvers. In the spirit of like recommending a book, I'm really into Priya Parker right now. Now that I've sort of realized my niche is helping leaders facilitate more engaging gatherings, Priya Parker has a book called The Art of Gathering. And she brings a lot of really cool insight into how you can create a more welcoming environment that's more suitable for belonging through the choices that you make aesthetically.
Brilliant. And you know what? We do build a library on our blog as well of kind of resources that people recommend. So these will be going on it as well. And how about yourself, Meg? Any kind of resources, entrepreneurs you'd like to point people towards?
Well, I must point out that the last kind of year and a half for me has been reading about water births and how to wean a baby. So I'm not, the current book on my bedstand is like, there's no such thing as naughty, and how to deal with my child moving into 1 to 2. So I apologize. That's what's coming to the brain, but no, to be fair to you, I'll be honest, everything from listening to a podcast from Gabby Bernstein to Brene Brown to following, I guess like other companies, I can't wait to follow Eli and Zoe and learn a little bit from them. I have a friend whose name's Lindsay Sikornik, and she happened to uproot her life and 4 kids to Costa Rica and runs Alive and Awake, which is an amazing company with life coaching, and she's about to do her first TED Talk. So I think there's a lot of people out there, a lot of books and knowledge that, that do inspire me. But I suppose my next step is to really look at it from a business point of view, because similar to Eli, I think my entrepreneurial ship, I suppose, is something that's like, I never really realized that I was running a business until maybe I'm sat here doing a podcast. Like it was a passion project that is growing into something that I hope will become my overall lifestyle with some, balance. And I feel really grateful to be in a position where, I can do something that I love. I feel like I'm making a difference and we can move forward. But, every sort of theory, every yoga training I've done, every conversation like this really does make a difference. So like you said, just talking and just seeking, what inspires you, I think can help drive those things forward.
Amazing. And that actually leads really well into my next question again in this rapid fire round, which is, if I bumped into you, I'm going to put you on the spot, Meg, straight away, and then I'll lead back through. In 3 years' time in the street, I hope I see you guys before 3 years. But if I bumped into you in say 3 years' time, where do you hope the business is? What do you hope you've accomplished by that point?
I think I'd love to leave my little safety net job of teaching, and I'd like to be doing this full time. I'd love to have something a little bit more streamlined at the moment. I feel like it's been one big experiment that actually has gone really well, and I just need to now work on a little bit of business coaching and spend some time on packaging all of these sort of bits and pieces. So I hope there's a package. I hope there's a really exciting space online that people can access, and that we can, just continue to bring a little light.
Well, you have 1,000 days pretty much around that. I've got my poor maths in my head right now, but it's around about that to make it happen. So I look forward to that. Zoe, would it be Dynamic Pilates TV take you over, or you're like CEO or whatever?
Funnily enough, it was Dynamic Pilates TV I started filming for, so that might feel like it's
here we go. It's the Steve Jobs thing coming back.
No, I think for me, I would. I've just started doing some sort of more teacher training, so online at the moment. But I was contacted recently by a lovely guy in South Korea who is a professor of sports science in one of the big universities in Seoul, and he asked me to run 3 seminars for him this week. Last week it was, where I did 3 Zoom seminars teaching around about 300 in total, lovely South Korean Pilates students. And It was such an incredible experience. And I'd love to do more of that, and then maybe involve a little bit of travel as well, actually go to places in person, and build more of a community on my on-demand site as well. So what both Meg and Eli have been saying today about the communities that they're building. You know, I've got a wonderful face-to-face community here in my local village, but I don't get that community sense as much with the online part of my business, but I know it's available. I know it's there. It's about putting the time into kind of starting to build it. And then at the end of all of that, whilst also finding balance.
Do you know what? I'm just going to write world domination with a few retreats in there as well.
And retreats. I forgot about
and
retreats.
Yeah. But, you know, like that, what was it, that Queen song? You know, I want it all. But like we all do, you know, this is the thing. And then it's bringing it in, but then also being ambitious and saying, where can I go? Eli, I guess yours is maybe around hopefully hotels opening again and going down more of a corporate. But where, you know, in 1,000 days, 3 years, you know, like where do you want the business to be?
My answer might surprise you, but in 3 years, I hope to have already sold Drunk Yoga. I've learned a lot.
That's fine. That's fine.
I've learned so much in the last 4 years. Everything I feel like I need to about being an entrepreneur to move on to the next thing. And it's not that I want to move on. I love Drunk Yoga so much. I just throughout this process, as Drunk Yoga went from 0 to 1,000 in like a day, and we did scale. I have a whole nationwide company, really. I think the operations now that are building and growing more complex and involve more spreadsheets, I'm realizing my magic and what I want to do and the best way that I can serve the business is teacher trainings, teaching the teachers how to teach more in a more engaged, interactive way. So teacher trainings and speaking. I want to be teaching again, the large conferences, you know, put me on a stage with a microphone and it's my best and highest use. So I'm actually actively looking for a larger wellness company, maybe a corporate company who already has all the clients that we have, but could really benefit from having a more fun yoga option under their umbrella so they can run the operations and I can help them grow doing what I do best, which is training teachers. Brilliant.
And if I can take 30% finder's fee from you for that kind of corporate takeover, then just let me know. I'll see what I can do. I use the old Apple App Store model. I'll look in my Filofax or whatever and find out kind of like where these are. This is a super rapid question. If you could use one word to describe what it's like to run each of your business, what would it be?
Oof. One word to describe what it's like to run the business?
Yeah, you know, like what's your experience of running it?
Ooh.
Good question.
I'm gonna look up synonyms for chaos. Hold on.
Yeah, we love honesty here. We love honesty
all of
here.
those things is exactly what popped into my head.
And you can use a hyphenated word if you want.
It absolutely is chaos.
Chaos is fine. You know, we are trying to be honest on this show. If that's what you think, you know, in your heart, then, you know.
I'm going to say tumultuous.
But it's kind of, it's positive chaos.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you 2 words for that. That's fine. Hyphenated or 2 that explain it. This is fine with me. Eli, you said you had one?
Yeah.
Oh, I said tumultuous.
Okay. This works for me. And how about yourself, Meg?
I think what's coming to mind is just growth. I think I don't know.
Business, personal growth, everything that comes from that. So
helping people grow. I just think, I don't know, it just kind of all encompasses, you know, just trying to grow in my own business, growth for others. I don't know. I think that there's lots to learn and
I think we have 3 great words there anyway, which works for me. Final question before we hear more about where people can find you online. I'm going to ask you first, Eli. As an entrepreneur, what does success ultimately mean to you?
Oh, wow. I've answered this question a lot on several podcasts in the last year. Success is a moving target, and I really am tired of the word, to be honest. I'm myself exploring the word enough, just enough, instead of success. So your question was, can you say it again, Jonny?
What as an entrepreneur, what does success ultimately mean to you?
It means that I feel like I'm enough, that I get up in the morning and I know what I have to do and I do it. And then when I go to bed, I feel like I did the things I had to do. Because you, as an entrepreneur, that's very underrated. You're setting the bar, And so if you can create enough healthy boundaries for yourself so that you really feel like the work that you do in a day and the relationships that you have and the service that you put out in the world is enough, and you can get 8 hours of sleep, I mean, that's huge. So success to me feels like enough. Yeah.
This is fine for me. Do you know what? Like I said, when we started taping, there are no trick questions here. It's like, like everybody has different interpretations of what success is. Zoe?
Oh, I think Eli's given such a good answer. I'm now floundering around. I haven't quite had the experience of answering that question as many times. So I'm thinking, for me, as an entrepreneur, I think just to get to a point where I feel grateful but incredibly proud at the same time. So just, it's important that both of those words are there, because I think just feeling pride in what you do isn't quite enough. There has to be an element of gratitude there as well. Gratitude for and Meg's talked a lot about gratitude, actually. Gratitude for the opportunities that have come your way, and then pride that you have taken those opportunities and develop them. And I think that's what makes somebody feel like they have been successful.
Yeah. So out of the chaos, it's all worth it. You feel grateful for the life you're living, and you're able to wake up every day and do what you really love doing.
Yeah. And just, just be aware that you've got to that stage, recognize it. I think that's important. Yeah.
Brilliant. Meg, how about yourself? What does success mean to you as an earlier stage entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, you both gave beautiful answers. I think like feeling enough is something that I'm always working towards. Grateful. And when you said pride and you asked that question, oh, sorry.
There you go. Technical issues here. It isn't a ship that's come in here on the Go Solo show. It's a.
So sorry about that. Bad timing.
Oh, that's all right. I love this show. Everything happens all the time. So over to you, Meg.
I guess I'm, trying to search for an answer that wasn't those two things. And being a new mom, everything that drives me at the moment is just being a really great role model for my daughter. And I feel like success for me is showing her balance and showing her self-care. It's showing her how to have goals that are, they're bigger than you could ever imagine, but also finding a level of, balance and time and fun and joy. I mean, it's a lot of things, but I just kind of keep her in the back of my mind at this stage of my life and think, what is a really good, healthy role model, and what could that look like for her? And I think that for me is success. Hopefully
Amazing.
that answers your question.
All good. Such amazing answers. This is why I love doing these panel podcasts now, because everybody's got, there's almost like a Venn diagram. Everybody kind of crosses over, but everybody's doing their own interesting stuff and interpretation. So amazing. Right. Where should we point people towards? So Zoe, where can people find out about you online? Where would you like to point people towards?
I suppose it's got to be my Instagram page has got everything on it. So my Instagram page is @Pilates with Zoe.
Yep.
But within that page, you'll find all the sort of little clips and teasers for my on-demand studio. So I feed that page all the time with what I'm putting on demand. And my on-demand studio, if anybody wanted to take a look at that and how that's set up, is classes.pilateswithzoe.com.
Okay, amazing. Thanks very much. How about yourself, Meg?
So I guess my Instagram is a good spot, which is at Wellness with Meg C. But I am part of a lovely community subkit, and that's all linked onto my Instagram. And actually, that is the best way to just see posts and lots of that lovely information. Or wellnesswithmeg.com signposts all of that too.
Amazing. And Eli, Drunk Yoga, please do tell me more.
I would love for people to follow both myself and Drunk Yoga. Instagram is Eli Walker Stories, and of course @Drunk Yoga. And the websites are elywalkerstories.com and dodrunkyoga.com. So do drunkyoga.com.
Amazing. This is just the part of the show where I just thank you all for coming on. It's been such an enjoyable chat. I really love this because it's great to obviously just hear about your business, but also about yourselves as human beings and individuals. Obviously, it's amazing to hear your stories about being entrepreneurs as well. So thank you for coming on the show. Obviously, until next time, keep winning, everybody. Thanks very much. Take care, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Cheers.